Hello, everybody. I can see that you're arriving. So while everybody gets here, I'm just going to introduce myself. My name is Eszter Mrázik. I am, well, it was a really English pronunciation. I'm Hungarian, as you can tell. I'm an English teacher and a legal and financial translator and proofreader. And I've also worked as a language content developer for a language learning app. And today, on this occasion, in this workshop, we are going to be talking about first impressions and how your English CV contributes to that, and also your cover letter. So we are going to, I'm going to show you some very common mistakes. I'm going to give you some ideas about how to improve these. Before we begin, I just want to say that Ars Boni is really dedicated to helping lawyers develop their careers and helping them find new opportunities both in Hungary and abroad. And we have a lot of services related to English, like mock interviews in English, English lessons tailored to your needs. So if anybody is interested in any of these services, you can reach out to Ars Boni and we can offer you a solution. And just one more thing before we begin, is that we have a Q&A function. So if you have a question related to anything that I have been talking about, please type your question here in the Q&A section, and I will make sure to answer it. Okay? If you are ready to begin, then let's start. And first, I'm just going to give you some general guidelines for creating your CV. These aren't English specific necessarily, but I find these useful to mention because like you see so many different like sample CVs and so on that you can get lost. There are so many different tips. So a great tip for creating your CV is to always tailor it to the job you're applying for. I know that it takes time, but if you get the job, then you will be thankful that you spent those extra, 20 minutes on your CV to really make it appropriate for the job. It shouldn't be longer than 1 page, maybe 1.5 if you are a really, really experienced professional, but generally, in 1 page, you should be able to summarize everything that a recruiter needs to know about you to determine whether you are a good fit for a job or not. There are some must-have sections. There's professional experience, education, your skills or IT skills section that where you can put, Microsoft Office and Google Docs and any legal databases that you can use, and so on. And the language skills section, and a lot of people use words like conversational or fit for negotiation or these kind of words, but the best idea is to use the CEFR scale, levels like A1 and B1 and B2 and C1. So these levels are probably the clearest way of demonstrating how well you speak a language. If you don't know, there are free tests on the internet. If you have a different kind of language exam and it's not graded according to this scale, there are comparative charts on the internet. So you can check those out. You can find this out if you don't know. You should always list both your current and previous jobs chronologically, and the same goes for education. You most often the best idea is to start with your current or most recent place of employment, or where you're actually studying. And if you are wondering whether to include certain job or not, or a certain qualification that you have, if it is relevant to the job that you're applying to, include it. It does not necessarily need to be a legal position. Like if you are applying to a place that, for example, like a law firm that specializes in tax law, for example, and you have financial qualification, that's relevant, obviously. But if you're also a yoga teacher, that might not be relevant. So you can leave this out. And unless you are in your, I would say, first or maybe second year of law school, you can also leave out your high school education. So that's not really relevant anymore once you have done a couple of years of tertiary education. So what is nice to have is a profile or personal profile section, which should be a short summary of who you are and what you want. By what you want, I mean like what kind of opportunity you're looking for, whether you are looking for an internship or maybe maybe you would like to get a position with more responsibility, or you are trying to you've been working at law firms and you want to get a corporate job this time. So to have a recruiter place you like what kind of job you would be the best fit for. And what else, something else that you can also put here is like if you have any experience that like you cannot really display on your CV elsewhere, you can highlight it here. For example, if you have lived in a country and you have lived and worked in a country, that's going to come in handy for this position, or this kind of stuff, you can put it there. There are also some can have sections, like if you have any publications, you have won a competition, you have won an award, you can display this on your CV, of course. And as for the photo, this really depends on the country that the job is in that you're applying for, because, for example, in Hungary, a photo is a must. If you don't put a photo on your CV, that's weird. But in the US, for example, if you apply for a legal position somewhere and you put a photo on your CV, you are going to come off as unprofessional, because what they think is that you should be convincing the recruiter with your qualifications and skills and experience, and not with your looks. So if you are applying for a job in a different country, make sure to look up what what people generally do there, because it can be really different to what you are used to. Okay, British or American English? If you have to put together an English CV, which one should you go for? Well, the answer is both are fine, just be consistent, so don't switch between the two. There are some important differences that can help you spot which variety of dialect of English they belong to. British people spell a lot of things with OU, where in American English you only have an O. For example, labor law. Pronunciation is similar, but the spelling is different. And the same goes for words ending in L. In British English, you have a double L, and in American English, you typically have a single L. So these are easy to remember. Unfortunately, there are also some differences in terminology. For example, in British English, you have solicitors and barristers, and in American English, you have attorneys or attorneys at law. You might need to pay attention to these as well. Spell check can help you with the first two. There's a great tool called Grammarly, where after registering, you can check out what you have written for free. But if you do not even have time to even do that. Google Docs has this built-in feature. Grammarly is smarter than Google Docs, but if you type something into a Google Doc, which you can use if you have a Gmail email address, and you set the language to either American or British English, it will point out if you have gotten the spelling wrong. It will not tell you that you cannot use the word barrister in American English, but it will spot your inconsistent spelling. So that's great tool. And whichever you use, make sure that you phrase everything in a formal manner. We will talk about this a bit more later on, but yeah, there are some pitfalls to avoid related to formal and informal phrasing. So before we get to the formal and informal, there are some really common grammar mistakes to avoid, which I see a lot even in text written by native speakers, because like if you can speak English, you think about the pronunciation in your head, and you might not watch your spelling. So mixing up these words, your and your, as in your as in you are, these three ones are also all pronounced there, and whose with the apostrophe or without the apostrophe. So I'm pretty sure that if you are here listening to this presentation, you are aware of what these mean. But yeah, so these are super basic mistakes, but really worth a check. So for example, here we have this example: I was the head of their corporate and M&A group. Get the spelling right. And the same goes for the two other examples. Actually, like for the your and the whose and whose word pair, it's a great trick to think that since it's formal writing, you are not really supposed to have contracted forms in it. By contracted forms, I mean your as a contraction of you are, for example, or whose as a contraction of who is. So if there's an apostrophe in it, double check it, because that is unlikely to be the correct answer. And also, like, if you actually think about this, that this is who is, you'll figure out that it's like esteemed lawyers, who is expertise, you know that it doesn't work. Okay, so moving on to the next slide, how to put together a good profile. If you remember, this is the profile that I mentioned, that it's really nice to put this on your CV as a short summary of who you are. This should be, I would say, like somewhere between 1 and 5 sentences, depending on how experienced you are. If you are just starting your career, it does not need to be 5 sentences. 1 or 2 sentences are enough. This question in the second line, like no subject first person or third person, refers to what style should you write this in, because this no subject style is quite common, where people say like, okay, third-year law student, primarily interested in criminal law, looking for an internship. So this doesn't have a subject in it anywhere at all. It doesn't have doesn't really have a verb in it. Or like another example, lawyer with experience in tax and corporate law, seeking an in-house counsel position. This works really well for short profiles. When it's like 1 or 2 sentences, feel free to write it like this. But if it's longer, if you already have, let's say, 8 years of experience, and you want to, so you have more to talk about, then a longer text written in this style can get a bit tiring to read. So I would recommend that if your profile is longer, then use the first person, so which just basically means adding verbs to your profile. So to say, I am a third-year law student, primarily interested in criminal law. I am looking for an internship at a law firm where I could develop my skills further. This also allows you to to expand a bit more on your profile, because like if you wanted to put this section in the previous example, like looking for an internship, where, and then like what do you put there? Do you put where I could develop, or do you put where they could develop? So you run into this error, like what person you talk in. So yeah, I would recommend using the first person if you want to write something a bit longer. Again, I'm an experienced legal professional with several years of experience in managing teams, negotiating settlements, and so on. And there's also the third person option. So you might see something like this, like he or she is an experienced legal professional. This was really trendy a couple of years ago. And some people still do this, but from what I have heard, this is considered a bit outdated nowadays. So you are better off with the no subject or first person style. That's you cannot really mess that up. Yeah, so what should you actually put in this profile? You can start it with your education if you are a student, or your current position and expertise as a practicing legal professional. You can highlight your professional achievements and any other skills or experience you have that could help your application stand out. So again, language skills, having lived in that country before, or anything else that you can mention. If you don't have any achievements, you can list. You can also mention why you would like to work at that particular company or law firm. But this does not have to be a summary of your entire CV. This is just to get the recruiter interested in you and the rest of your CV, because they generally spend well, not a lot of time looking at your CV. I have heard that they spend 7 seconds going through your CV. So yeah, I think you understand why this needs to be well written. And you also don't need to list like all of the responsibilities that you have had, all of the different tasks that you have done, because that is what the professional experience section is for. So you can give details about your previous jobs and responsibilities there. This really should just be a summary of who you are and what you're looking for. Okay. Formal and informal language. Before beginning, I'm just checking the time because I don't know where I'm at time-wise. Yeah, I think I could talk quite fast. So tell me to slow down if you need me to. Okay, so yeah, as I have already mentioned, avoiding contractions is something very important. So there should not be too many apostrophes in what you write. Yes, you're using I am instead of I'm, and so on. There are a lot of common words that have formal alternatives. I put a couple of examples here, like instead of talk about, we generally say discuss. So I discuss this matter with my employer or my colleagues or the clients. Instead of about, like about a certain topic, you can use regarding. So for example, regarding the development of this new legal framework, think about, instead of that, you can say consider, and in this case, I mean like I thought about getting a PhD, or I thought about reaching out to the client. And instead of that, you can say I considered getting a PhD, or I considered reaching out to the client about this matter, instead of deal with. Well, this one is a complex one because deal with can mean a lot of different things. Whether the correct alternative is manage or handle or be responsible for. That depends on the exact sentence. Generally, we handle something that is, perhaps difficult or unpleasant. So like, for example, we handle conflict or handle time pressure, for example. We manage a team or, well, there are other things we can manage, but generally it's a team. And be responsible for is, well, that's a pretty good one because that works for a lot of things. We generally use be responsible for to for like naming our task, like what we have been doing at our current workplace. Or also one thing that we do handle is not necessarily unpleasant, but we also handle cases in English. So like if you want to talk about what kind of cases your law firm deals with, then you can use handle, even though they are not necessarily unpleasant things. Yeah, instead of get a degree, you can say that you earn a degree. And instead of take a job, you can say accept a job or a position. That sounds a bit nicer. Yeah, there are other informal and formal word tests. So these were just a couple of examples. If you look up a word in a dictionary, for example, Cambridge Dictionary, there is often a little sign there that will let you know if it's formal or informal. So that can be useful. And yeah, another feature of formal writing is the presence of passive structures. So these are really common in formal writing. So while you can absolutely say the judges selected our team to represent Hungary at an international competition, it sounds more formal and it is perhaps more fitting to put in a CV or a cover letter to say our team was selected to represent Hungary at an international competition. Or there's this one, for example, yeah, at the competition, they gave us a brief and 2 supporting documents. It is nicer to say that we were given a brief and 2 supporting documents. But the first versions are correct too. So it's not a matter of like correct and incorrect. It's like good and better. Wait, I think I skipped. Oh, yeah, here it is. I hit the button too hard. So second part of formal and informal language. Nouns and ing forms are generally preferred in writing. So again, while the first examples here, like this one, when I worked at XY law firm, I regularly represented clients at trials and negotiated settlements. This is correct. There's nothing wrong with this. But if you say, while working at XY law firm, my duties included regularly representing clients at trials and negotiating settlements, this sounds a bit more professional. Again, there's the second example. I'm interested in how new legal frameworks are developed. I am interested in the development of new legal frameworks. In writing, this sounds a little better. If you are already at an interview, the first ones are absolutely fine as well. So what I want to highlight here is that these are not musts. These are tendencies. These are useful things to pay attention to. But a CV written in correct but simple English is better than one with fancy English and dozens of grammar mistakes. And the same goes for vocabulary. So be really, really careful using words that you do not know. And especially if you got this from a bilingual dictionary, like you just went on to Google Translate and typed in, I don't know, precise and translated into whatever language, because, like sometimes there are very, very subtle differences between certain words, and it's very, very easy to pick the wrong one if you haven't really used it before, you haven't really seen it used. So one tip, like if you must use an unfamiliar one, look it up in a monolingual dictionary, because that will give you at least some examples, and it will give you a more precise definition than just, okay, so this is English for this particular word. Okay, what I wanted to show you just briefly is that, for example, if you use Cambridge Dictionary, this will help you figure out whether a word is British or American. Like, for example, if there's this word attorney, which I have mentioned here, there is this little US mark to let you know that this is an American word for lawyer. Or there are also words where it's displayed that something is formal. So, for example, I think if I say meticulous, it will show up. No, here what shows up is that it's approving. This is also useful if a word is approving. That tells you that this is a positive word. So, like, if you want to say that you are really careful and you pay attention to every detail, this is a positive word for being like this. And then here I have this punctilious word, for example, and here you have like this little word. So here it says that it's formal. So this is an important piece of information for you, so you know that you can use this word in formal writing. Okay, so going back to my presentation, talking about your professional experience. So what are some words that you can put in your CV when you want to describe what you did at a particular workplace? There are two very common introductory phrases which I can recommend. One of them is like, my day-to-day tasks include or included. Depends on, obviously, if it's your current place of employment or a past one. And this can be followed up by a noun or an ing form of a verb, or I am or was responsible for, and again, a noun or an ing verb. And here I have put a couple of examples, so representing clients, either in litigation or non-litigation proceedings, liaising with clients or stakeholders. Liaising is basically just a fancy word for, like keeping in touch and making sure that everyone is informed, sending emails, making phone calls, and so that. I have a question, I can see. There's no sound. That is fantastic. Can you please let me know if you can hear me? We did check and test this. So so I was told that everything works fine. Okay, I something in the chat. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. In this case, I type an answer for Anna. Wait, where is it? Well, I don't think I can help right now, but we have a. Okay, so we have a someone from Arsbony here, Vicky. If you can, then please help Anna Greta figure out what is wrong with her sound. I think she needs to change the like what speakers you use. At least that is what generally happens to me. Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so going back to the presentation, I'm just checking how much time I have. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, we were talking about liaising with clients or stakeholders, drafting or drawing up contracts or agreements. This is something that you can use. You can also draft a legal opinion or provide legal support for something or somebody, conduct legal research. And if you want to give the topic, like what your research was about, you do or conduct legal research into a certain topic. Yeah, you can also conduct legal due diligence, and you can compile legal due diligence report. Compile is a fancy word for put together. Yeah, and you can also carry out various administrative tasks. This word is a nightmare. So tasks. Thank God I can pronounce it. So you can translate documents, proofread documents, you can file documents with the court or maintain someone's calendar, for example. So these are some, okay, the questions have disappeared. So I hope that the sound error was fixed. Yeah, so these are the specific ones that you can use to list what you have experience in, and there are also some less specific phrases that you can use. If you say it with the have, then you are referring to your entire career or your current position. If you do not use the have, then you can use this to talk about a previous work experience. So like, for example, at my last workplace, I gained experience in negotiating or negotiation. I contributed to, this can be followed by a noun, which this one just means that you did something to make something happen. And you are not specifying what you did exactly, but yeah, you had a part in it. So your work contributed to something happening. I gained or have gained some insight into something. You can use this one if, for example, if you are at the beginning of your career and you were not given a task, you did not do that specific thing. But for example, if you had a mentor who like taught you a little bit about some kind of work, they showed you a couple of things about something. So if you had this kind of experience that you already know a little bit about something but you haven't really done it, you can say this one, that you gained some insight into how something works, for example. And you can or you might have improved or developed your skills, whether those are time management skills or negotiation skills or communication skills or any other type of skills. And since we are talking about skills, there are these are some great skills and personal attributes that you can highlight. You can say that you have exceptional or great skills, for example, problem-solving skills. Exceptional is quite a strong word, so only use it if you are really, really fantastic at that thing. You can say, this is a nice expression, that you have a keen ability for problem-solving or decision-making or something else. A keen ability means that it's pretty much the same as the previous one, that you are really great at problem solving, for example. You can say that you are a team player, or that you are able to work on your own or independently. This is something that employers often look for, because they want somebody like this who can do both. And you can also highlight that you are able to work well under pressure, or you can add under time pressure. Meaning that you have very little time to, for example, read through a brief. Yeah. Some words to describe yourself. You know, like you might find these to be a bit of a cliche, but still, it's good to know a couple of words like this, because very often you need a word or two to describe yourself, or later on, if you get an interview and you are asked like, okay, so tell us about yourself, it's good to have a couple of these words in your head. You can say that you are diligent, meaning that you work a lot and you always do what you are assigned, that you are reliable. I think you know that one. Flexible. You can be committed to something. For example, you are committed to improving yourself. You are committed to providing each client with the best legal advice you can give them. Proactive, I think that is used quite often. Attentive to detail, which is a really great, it's a great quality to have. You can see that you have a can-do attitude, which means that you do not back down from a challenge, but instead of that, you look at it and think, okay, I can do this. Eager to learn. This is super important, especially for junior lawyers or even law students, that you just really want to learn as much as possible. What else do we have? We have dedicated, which is similar to committed, and you can also say that you are driven, which means that you have ambitions and you want to, and you are ready to work for them. Yeah. And finally, the topic of cover letters. An important thing to know about cover letters is that a good one can do wonders for your application, but a bad one can ruin your chances for an interview. So if it's required, if the job description says that, yeah, please apply with your CV and the cover letter, then you absolutely have to write one. There's no avoiding it. So in that case, don't skip it. If it's not required, then if you think that you have a great one and in the ideal case, it has been proofread by someone, I would really recommend that having someone proofread your cover letter, because they can point out things that you would have never thought of. In that case, you can attach it. It can help, but if you don't have, or you do not feel confident about it, do not send one, like just for the sake of sending one, because it can if it, like the more a recruiter sees of you, like the more chances you have of putting something in there that is not that convincing. So, but what if how to write a good one? So, and what is a cover letter even good for? Because it's not, it does not solely exist to torture potential candidates. There's actually a reason why cover letters are required sometimes. So you can use it to mention things that did not fit in your CV. So, for example, if you took a particularly interesting course at university, which, like, where are you going to put that on your CV? But you took a course that is relevant to the current position, then you can mention that in your cover letter, and that can help convince the recruiter that you are really interested in this particular field. And you can also quell any doubts that the recruiter or interviewer might have about you. So, for example, if you have a gap in your employment, and they can see that on your CV, which is often a warning sign, like, okay, what did you do in this 1 year? If you explain that in your cover letter, that for example you were taking care of a sick relative or something, then the recruiter can go, oh, okay, no problem. So you can use this to demonstrate things that you could not put in your CV. You can reinforce your interest in the position, and you can talk about your skills more in detail. So you can use it for a lot of great things. How to write one? It should be an actual letter, definitely. So you have to read the reader first, and you have to sign off at the end. Some appropriate greetings are dear sir or madam. You cannot really go wrong with this. Or if you know who you are writing to, then you can put the last name of that person on your cover letter. So you can go dear Mr. X or dear Miss Y. I don't know if you know this Miss title, so why it's not Miss or Mrs. It's basically, this is the one that people use when they don't know whether a woman is married. So you cannot go wrong with this. So if you know the last name of the person, then yeah, you can use this one. There's also this one that is quite, I see sometimes, like this, to whom it may concern. This is super duper formal, and it's also a bit outdated nowadays, so that is better to avoid. Dear sir or madam is generally perfectly formal and polite and all that. Some appropriate sign-offs are best regards is really common in business communication nowadays, because that it's seen as, like friendly but formal. But if you, if you do not feel that it's formal enough, you can go for either yours faithfully or yours sincerely. You use yours faithfully if you do not know if you do not know the sender, so dear sir or madam goes with yours faithfully. And if you know at least the person's name that you are writing to, then you can put yours sincerely. So dear Mr. Jones, yours sincerely. And the structure, just a couple of words about that. So it should start with this greeting. Again, it should have this kind of introductory paragraph, so like your name and what you are looking for, who you are, including the position. So like, for example, someone who is looking for an internship can put it there that, yeah, my name is XY, I am a 4-year law student at Eötvös Loránd University, and I am primarily interested in this and this field of law, and I am currently looking for an internship. Then after this introduction, you should have separate paragraphs describing your educational background and/or your work experience, your skills and personal attributes. There isn't a very fixed order for this. So you can do this in any order that works for you. If your education is more you feel that your education is more relevant because, like for example, you did study law, but your work experience, like wasn't that great, you can start with your education. Or if you like your education wasn't that important, but your current work experience is very relevant to your position, then you start with that. So whatever works for you. But basically in these paragraphs, you have to so you have to briefly discuss these topics, remembering the job advertisement. So what kind of person they are looking for, because subconsciously you are trying to tell the recruiter, yes, I am the person you are looking for. And it's also a great idea to give a reason why you are applying. So I'm interested in this position because it would give me a chance to learn more about this, to develop this skill and that skill, and I could use my knowledge of this and that. So basically telling them why you would like to work at this particular law firm or company. And at the end, you should thank the reader for their attention. That's very important. You should always be polite and include some kind of positive message. By positive message, I mean something like, I hope I will have the chance to prove my dedication in person, or I hope I will have the chance to work with you, or something like this. So not something, so you don't want to be overly confident, but basically express a wish that I hope this letter will be received well, and then at the end you sign off as we have discussed. Okay, it jumped again. Okay, so any questions? If you have any, please put them in the Q&A section. Nothing? I'll wait if... Okay, if there are no more questions, then I would just like to say that thank you for your attention. And I would like to highlight that LingoFest is still going on. So there are lots of great talks to listen to. So make sure to check out the program. And I would again like to mention that ArtsPony offers a lot of different services for legal professionals. There are a lot of English specific ones if you would like to brush up on your English, but there are also non-English related ones. So make sure to check out the website. And again, thank you for joining me during this talk, and thank you for your attention.